Hello everyone, my name is Flash, and today I'll be going over what each and every thing in the Maker Pen does. What I mean is by this handy dandy settings tab right here. So, I will be explaining everything that is inside of this. So, a few things before we get started. There are a couple of options or checkboxes or whatever you call them. They're kind of hard to explain. So I will try doing my very best to explain what each and every single one of those do. So without further ado, I'm going to bring you to first person and we're going to get started. So, let's do this. Okay, so you're going to get out your Maker Pen, which you can find inside of your backpack by pressing use on the Maker Pen. If you press the favorite button, you will be able to pull it from your back. So, let's get started. So, if we open our palette right here at the top left, there will be this little settings tab right here. Click that, there will be all of these little settings right here. So, we're just going to start from left to right and keep going down as we go. What don't rotate while moving is. So, if we take a cube real quick, let's just draw a cube. And normally if you were to move something, it would just be able to move as freely as you want. But if you do don't rotate like moving, you can't rotate the object while you're moving it forward, backward. You can't turn it sideways. You can only keep it on this one level. So, but I normally like having that checked off so I can freely move this around if I'm working with certain objects. So, enable self-scaling. Self-scaling is kind of confusing. It is definitely a weird one, but it definitely helps with a lot. I'm gonna bring you to third person just because it might help a little bit. So, I'm gonna bring you to third person, and this is what it is. So basically what it is if you grab both triggers while holding your Maker Pen, you will enlarge, I guess you could say. You can go very small to work on detail, or you can go very big. So that's basically what self-scaling is. So I'm going to bring it back to first person, and what we're going to do is going over the next couple of settings. Create Grabable Objects. What Create Grabable Objects does is when you draw something, you can now grab it. But if you're working on rooms, for whether it be environments or certain things, I normally keep this off, just so when I create an object, you don't immediately grab it and mess up a lot of things. So, if I were you, I would keep that off. Position snap. This is a awesome setting. Basically, what it is it's the world grid or the grid of the object's snapping position. So, it's kind of hard to explain, but if it is where you can do things precisely, you can do things less precise. It's kind of hard to explain, but if I were to be on 0.5, it'd be very precise with this. It'd be very precise. If I go to something, say 10, it wouldn't be as precise, and it would be like kind of more chunky, I guess you could say, of a grid. So, boom. So, rotation snap. Rotation snap is the snap of when you rotate things. So this is the snap of an object, and this is the snap of when you rotate something. So if I took this right here, and I put it on 90-degree snap turn, when I turn it around, it won't really turn around. It would be probably easier if I took something like a cylinder real quick and explained it. Like 90, it would just flip at 90 degrees. But as if I had it on 5, I could like rotate it a lot easier. But if you were to use 45 or 30, it would be a lot better if you were trying to get that perfect kind of grid angle. So, uniform shapes. This is awesome. It basically makes every object you make more uniform. So if I had this off, I would just be able to make maybe a straight line with the cube. But if I had this on, it would make a perfect cube when I draw it. With tubes, this works where it'll just make a straight line, and you can drag this around as much as you want. And yeah, so I normally keep that off, but when I'm working with tubes, or maybe I'm trying to get that perfect cube, I would turn that on. Snap to center. Basically what it does is as the description says, when you hover your pointer over it, it says snap object centers to position snap grid. What it is what the description says, it tries, when you're on grid, it tries snapping these to the center of, well, an object or position of. I am trying to learn this one. It's kind of confusing. It's kind of weird to me, but I don't really think that helped a whole bunch, but to some people it might. So you can turn it on or off. I would probably just keep it on, but don't know. Line to edges. This is another weird one that's kind of hard to explain or kind of hard to do. Line to edges. It snaps object edges to another object edges. Snap object edges to other object edges. So it tries, I'm assuming it tries snapping the edge to another edge of an object. So if you took the edge of this object, you'd probably just try snapping to another edge of another object. Again, I don't really think it makes a whole difference if you keep it on or off, as well as snap to center. It might make a little bit of a difference, but it's not too bad. Show grid. What this does is it shows the grid of its shape. Right now it's being a little funky. My grid's not showing up when I keep it on or off. But normally, if it doesn't work, but when it normally does work, I keep this on. Sync page. These are tubes. Tubes are very cool, very fun, awesome things. So in the shapes menu, there's these certain shapes, and tube is one of them. So I'm gonna go back to settings. What this does is it enlarges or decreases the size of a tube. So if you want a really small tube, you keep it on 1 centimeter, but if you want a really big tube, you can keep it on 25. So, fixed tube width. This is another really good thing for making maybe detailed or certain things. By the way, I'm gonna keep mine on 4 centimeters for this, so it's not too big or too small. Fixed tube width. What this is when you check it, it makes a perfect tube. But if you keep it off, it might make like these weird you might be able to make it you can increase or decrease the size of it while you're using it. If that makes any sense. By how this is used is you use the trigger. If you're lightly holding the trigger, it will turn small, but if you're holding your trigger really hard, it will increase. Another kind of hard one to explain, but I normally keep that on just because it might help, but usually I just turn this off and on. It's kind of one of those things. Okay, next one. Connect nearby tubes. What this does is it's basically what it says. It connects tubes. So if I take this and turn it on, it will connect to, if I let go of the trigger and then I hold the trigger again, it will connect. If I have this off, it will not. I guess that's the best way to explain it. See, it doesn't connect. Another one. Smooth tubes. basically just makes the smooth tuber, or the tube smoother. Jammable right there. It kind of just makes it a little bit more, rounded, I guess you could say. And it also has this little point at the end of tubes. Next one, tube height ratio. This depends on how squished, you could say, how squished, or how well, I guess if you have it on 50%, it'll reduce the overall object by 50. 100 is the shape, and then 10 is like where it's squished all the way like a pancake. I normally keep this on 100, but sometimes if you're working on certain things, it might be a little bit better. Tube facets. This is the best thing about tubes, I guess you could say. It's you can have, by the way, smooth tubes. I normally have all. So it's how many sides an object has. So if we have tube facets 3, it'll have 3 sides. It'll make a triangle. If we have tube facets 4, it'll make more of a cube. So it'll like make kind of like a straight cube. Tube facets 5 make a pentagon. I think that's what it's called. With 5 edges or 5 sides. 6 hexagon has 8 sides, and then 10 has 10 sides. This is the most rounded shapes, and then combined with smooth tubes, it'll make a really round, almost like cylinder kind of thing. Fade world in edit mode. I think this is only on PC, but I'm not sure. What it does is when you have it on, it'll like kind of fade the world and make it white as you're building. I normally have this off. I don't think it's that helpful, but if you think it's helpful, well, you can do that. So for the next one, we're gonna just use a cube real quick, and we're gonna make multiple cubes. And what this next one is it's drag select size. Not many people know what this does, but probably like a month ago, I figured out what it does, and now I know what it does. So what it does is it's the precision of the select button on your MakerPen menu. So if you have it on precise, it'll like, when you're dragging it, it will be very precise with the exact line coming out of your MakerPen. If I have it on small, it'll make like a small circle around my, where the end of my select tool is. So if I'm making like small, if there's small objects, I can get a certain amount of those objects. Medium, and just increases the size. Large increases the size by a lot. And then analog, it's almost the same as large, I believe. Show pivot, what it does is it shows this little cube, I guess you could say, and that is what is the game's telling you is the center of the cube. So if an object respawned, this would be the center. What you can do by fixing that is editing the object. Press the edit button and edit this. You can move it, and this will be the respawn point. So if an object respawned, the middle would be here. So normally when you're using maybe animation gizmos or object respawners, you want to center this. Okay, next page. Rotate around pivot. What it does is it tries, basically what it says, it performs rotations around object pivot instead of center. So it tries rotating the objects around other objects instead of the center. It's kind of another confusing one to say. At least it's not something that you need to really care about that much, in my opinion. You can keep it on or off. It doesn't really matter. Show gadgets when not holding MakerPen. can explain things. So if I just got a animation gizmo, spawn that in. If I show gadgets when not holding maker pen, it'll spawn there when I'm not holding maker pen. But if I don't have this enabled, I can't see the animation gizmo. Honestly, it's best to have this off. There's not much of a point having it on unless you're making some type of room where you're explaining certain gadgets, but it's not really that helpful for building most rooms. Show selection, boundaries. It shows position snap grid when enabled. What it does is when you select an object or an object you're moving, it'll have this kind of green, for example on a cube it would have this green box, and it kind of shows what it is and how it's snapped, basically. So this is a big cube of how much this is taking up if it were in another cube. It's more, the image is better than it is explaining. It's kind of hard to explain again, but that I normally keep that off. And then these bottom things right here, the PlayGizmos, delete everything and reset gadgets. PlayGizmos, what it does is it says it pauses or stops the gizmos that are running in the room. So if you have a piston going up really high, you can press this and it'll stop that piston. Delete everything. What it does is it deletes everything in the room. I'm not going to do that right now because I don't want to do it right now. Reset gadgets. It resets it. What it says, it resets the state of all the objects. So basically, if an animation gizmo or piston is going, it'll reset. I think a piston. I'm not 100% sure about a piston. I don't usually use this much, so yeah. I think that's it. If you do need, or if I didn't explain one of the things that well, please tell me in the comments, because honestly, this is kind of, there's no script to this, so it's kind of just coming out of my head, and it might not be the best when it comes to seeing this and being explained. So, I hope this was helpful. If it wasn't helpful, you can drop a dislike to tell me that I can improve, like to tell me that it was good, and then comment down below if you have any questions. So, thank you for watching, and I just want to say goodbye.